Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. This is going to be a fun one. We are doing X-Men movies, and similar to the DCU one, it's going to be a kind of a reverse one. We're going to start just ranking off the bat because there's only 12 and only 13
There's 13,
movies.
yeah.
But so yeah, um, but I've got a great panel here. I've got Kevin Post. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to ranking these movies. I've been watching them for the last 20 some odd years, and just it's been something that I've been along for the ride. I feel like through the good and bad and ugly and happy and sad and all that good stuff. So hopefully we get to talk about all that tonight. But thank you for having me on, and look forward to a good show.
Moving along, we've got Garth. Garth, how's it going?
Hello, good to be back. I did a little doodle for tonight. Let's see if I can get it in frame there.
Nice. Wow. I know he's the awesome freaking drawer, man.
Puts my stick figures to shame.
And and like Kevin just said, it's been 20 years, loving these and hating some.
And moving around, we've got Chris Diaz. Chris, how's it going?
Going good. So the type of X-Men, for the good, to bad, and to plain out ugly that we would never want to talk about ever again.
And last but not least, he's bound to have a lot of hot takes. Ryan Pumerson.
Hot takes? Me? Get out of here. No, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Like all of us, we've grown up with this franchise. We've seen some positive moments out of this franchise, maybe not so good moments, and we're gonna rank this franchise tonight, and it should be excellent to do so. So let's get right into it.
Yeah. But yeah, just to reiterate how the ranking works for whenever I decide to do something like this is we each have already either have written down or are writing down now what we have as the first team and going to reveal what we think is the 13th, and then the one with the most votes is what we talk about then, and then we'll move on up as always. But first up, Kevin, what do you have as your number 13?
My number 13 is X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Garth.
Mine is Dark Phoenix.
Ooh.
Chris.
X-Men Origin Wolverine, aka Sean Deadpool Mouth Shut movie.
Ryan.
The New Mutants.
Oh.
Ooh. I've also got X-Men Origins Wolverine, so X-Men Origins Wolverine is going to be number 13. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on X-Men Origins Wolverine?
X-Men Origin Wolverine it's remembered mostly, I think, for the bad version of Deadpool. That's what people always go to, but I think of it as even just the story itself. It takes away all the mystery to Wolverine himself, going all the way back 150 years. The CGI claws look terrible. This just isn't. It doesn't go along with any of the other movies, and I'm kind of glad that this was a flop, because it did lead to the First Class idea, them going that direction instead of the Origins direction. But yeah, the way it took away the mystery behind Wolverine, who's I think one of anybody's favorite characters, definitely one of mine, is a reason that I put it at number 13.
Garth, what are your thoughts on X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yeah, as Kevin said, giving away the origin. There was a lot of controversy when the Origins comics came out and told, like, oh, here's his real name and here's how he was born and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people loved that mystery where he was just known as Logan and that was it. And just knew he was very old. That was it. So yeah, giving away a lot of the mysteries. I did like some parts of this movie though. It wasn't a total trash fire, but obviously everything combined. You got a character called the Merc with the Mouth, and you take his mouth away. It's like, all right. Um, so yeah, a lot of problems with this one. This was my number 12.
Chris, what are your thoughts on X-Men Origins Wolverine?
I can only name one good scene in the movie, and that's the opening montage of when they fight each other war, and that it. The rest of the movie just plain dumpster fire. The CGI is bad. They show Deadpool mouth shut, and that is one of the more insulting moments in any X-Men movie that hit me so hatred fan. You tell me a decent movie, Lee Sniper about does a decent job of Sabretooth, but everybody else give me a bone-in performance. Dan Keaton is a god-awful movie. And like, there's so many things wrong with this movie, and the Professor X cameo is really irritating rewatching it, especially with the visual effect, young face. And it's just there's so much of this movie that it means more than any other X-Men movie, and I think I would want to wipe it away from my memory like Deadpool 2 did in the post-credits.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on X-Men Origins Wolverine?
What are my thoughts? What are my thoughts? I tell you what, I'm one of the 5 people who enjoys this movie for a number of reasons. 1, it's a revenge movie. 2, it's my favorite version of Deadpool. His mouth is shut. I don't have to hear him speak one word. Not one. Because I can't stand that character. 3, some badass, excuse my language, action sequences, in my opinion. Are they the best when it comes to CGI effects? No. But I can turn my brain off and enjoy the heck out of this movie. I like revenge movies. And this is a good one. I enjoy it. Is it the greatest of all time? No. But I enjoy it. And it's one of my favorite movies within the X-Men cinematic, or what lack there is of a cinematic universe. I like it. So the other 4 people who enjoy this movie, I'm right there with you.
But yeah, note to self: don't piss off Ryan Permerson because he likes revenge.
It's a great feeling. It is.
But yeah, I mean, like I do enjoy all the movies in this franchise. Like to me, there isn't really a really bad one in this. And but I mean, it's one of those ones like with this one, like a lot of the complaints that everyone comes to this is Deadpool but the thing is, they don't call Wade Wilson the Merc with a mouth in the movie, even though we know that the character is the Deadpool is known as the Merc with a mouth. He's not referred to it in the movie as of yet. It wasn't. I don't think they even actually say it in the Deadpool movies. But I mean, it is what it is. It's just one of those ones that I do like the least. But yeah. But with that, we go to number 12, and Garth, are you sticking with Dark Phoenix?
I am indeed.
Chris?
X-Men Dark Phoenix, it reduced to see the first time, but fail again hard.
Ryan?
Yeah, swing for the fences again. Why not? New Mutants.
I've got X-Men The Last Stand.
Ooh.
Kevin?
That'll be interesting then, because I have New Mutants.
Oh, so you're the tiebreaker.
Really?
Yep. But yeah, it's as much as it pains me to do this, it's going to be Dark Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay.
Alright.
That's fair.
I get it.
But Garth, what are your thoughts about Dark Phoenix?
Basically, I can't believe the meeting was, the Dark Phoenix saga was very popular. Chris Claremont, John Byrne, brilliant comics, some of the best X-Men comics out there. Let's try and make a movie. We tried to make a movie out of it with X-Men Last Stand. Didn't quite work. Let's get the writer of that to write and direct a new version, and he's never directed before. It was like, what are you doing? You're giving it back to the bad writer, and you're having him direct for the first time. So it just missed on many levels. They were going to have Skrulls in there, but it was like, oh no, Captain Marvel does, so we'll change him to another name. Going to end in a big space battle. with her versus Skrull ships, but no, that's Captain Marvel too. So they had to change that to a train scene. So lots of internal Marvel stuff where it fell apart, and bad writer, bad director, bad movie.
But Chris, what are your thoughts about Dark Phoenix?
So we get the writer of X-Men Last Stand to write and direct Dark Phoenix, like I said. This is god awful movie. It just goes through everything. Let me Charlie Xavier a dick. Let kill off Mystique in the movie. Let have Christopher knockout, who usually had the best scene in some of the other X-Men movie, and then do other stuff that doesn't make sense. Like Magneto wasted the best moment in the movie is the train sequence itself at the very end of the film. That really good action sequence. It's all the X-Men cast well. But it's sitting through shit of bad dialogue, bad character choices, and Jessica Chastain, who is usually a great actress, phoning it in as villain. It's just like the bad thing about it, it's not that long of a movie, but still just sitting through it at the final X-Men movie before New Mutant came out. It was a really bad way to go out for the Fox movie. And I'm happy Disney now X-Men to rewrite so many that got awful.
Ryan, what are your thoughts about Dark Phoenix?
Yeah, a lot of people just saw the writing on the wall. This was going to be a train wreck. It was going to be a bad way to go out for the X-Men franchise as far as 20th Century Fox is concerned. But I was one of the few who had faith in this thing. I mean, not like, overwhelmingly, like 100 gallons worth of faith in it, but I did have some faith in it. And unfortunately, it just didn't do it. It didn't do it. It had a few decent sequences between Charles and Eric. The trading of the philosophies, the trading of the barbs between them is always good because James McAvoy and Fassbender are two of the best actors in the business today. No question about it. But yeah, it just didn't really do much. And then, they teased, what was it, Jessica Chastain supposed to play a really important role. She does nothing. She really does nothing. And all the other things and the pieces around this movie just didn't fall into place as well as I thought they would. So I can understand a lot of people's arguments and complaints for this movie. I get it. A few decent things happened in this movie, but otherwise I could go without it. To me, this was worse than another X-Men movie, which we'll talk about later.
But yeah, with Dark Phoenix, this is out of I'm always going to stand by it. Like, there's at least 4 really bad movies. This is my favorite out of those 4. I mean, look, there's a lot of bad in this movie. There's quite a few sequences I did enjoy because I did enjoy that big train battle at the end. It was actually a fun battle. I mean, like Michael Fassbender was still decent in this movie. A lot of the big people that are usually good in the previous ones, like James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, they weren't that great in this one. They really weren't. I like Sophie. What's her face? I can't remember her name.
Sophie Turner.
The one who
Sophie
played Jean
Turner,
Grey.
yeah.
Yeah, Sophie Turner. I think she was great as Jean Grey. Like, it's just one of those ones. Out of the 4 bad ones, like, this is one that I will probably eventually buy the DVD of and have, because I mean, I can. Well, partly because I'm a completionist. I'm not going to have a franchise and just not buy a DVD. That
Wait till
fits in.
Cyber Monday.
But anyway, Kevin, what are your thoughts on Dark Phoenix?
I kind of feel like I'm on the same page as you, Malcolm. But I mean, I'll try not to echo too much of what everybody else has already said about, like, Garth brought up the scroll thing. I know they kind of use that as an excuse to make the Dabari just kind of a very generic. I don't know, that they felt just like kind of like stormtroopers, just your basic, bad guy, easy to kill off, whatever. But yeah, the train scene definitely the best part. This movie suffers from what I like to call, this won't be the first time I use this tonight, but I like to call it the Rise of Skywalker syndrome. It's a lot of stuff coming at you that isn't necessarily terrible. Yes, Charles was written very egotistically, and I don't like the way he was written in this one. But I think Fassbender gives one of the better performances out of his X-Men career. But just the writing is flat, the dialogue's drab. There's not much in terms of motivation from the villain. So yeah, it definitely has to rank low. I had it ranked at 9 because I think it's better than what people say, and I think it'll age better. But yeah, I mean it's definitely near the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't. Kind of curious what you had above it, because I had it at 10. So, but anyway, but with that, Chris, what do you have at 11?
Okay, getting the last movie that I hate off my chest. X-Men Impossible, aka Ivan Ooze in an X-Men movie. Anybody watch that?
Why aren't you sticking with New Mutants?
Yeah. God.
I've got The Last Stand. Kevin, you sticking with New Mutants?
Yeah, sticking with New Mutants.
And Garth, what do you
Okay,
have?
all right.
I went with the Wolverine.
Ooh.
Yeah,
At least
I
Kevin and I
actually
are
did
thinking
like
the same page.
You kind of froze up there, Garth. What did you have?
the Wolverine.
The Wolverine. The Wolverine.
Oh,
The
that
Wolverine
But-
when he's in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But with that, the New Mutant is going to be 11.
Ooh.
It's about time. I haven't seen the movie yet. Gosh.
That's not a reason, but that is a fair
But
reason.
It's the only reason I
but-
can put it dead last is because I haven't seen it, boy. So
yes,
that's my homework to do.
well, that's fair. But anyway, but Chris, what are your thoughts about New Mutants?
Only rank the films I've
Okay, I
seen.
just saw this for the first time recently this week alone. That's one on my list after X-Men Impossible. I don't hate this movie, just is middle of the road for me. I need to rewatch again in the future to see how it's truly feel about it. Macy William, Anya Taylor-Joy are really good in the movie. Yeah, a really good aspect to it. The action sequence is fun, but the timeline is very confusing because it never established whether it takes place before Logan or after Logan, because you get this flashback from Logan a little bit in the movie. And the acting not so great for everybody else. The doctor acting really not that good. And some of the special effects doesn't hold up. It feels like more a horror movie than an action movie. That would have been my joke for my board. But this is a decent movie. I think there's a good aspect to it. Some of the characters do like I just wish the writing was better and that they made some more X-Men than a horror movie. Except in an X-Men movie.
I know Ryan hasn't seen it, so I won't bother go to him. But yeah, I really enjoyed New Mutants. This is my number 4.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, it's one of those
Goodness
ones.
gracious.
I mean, I knew going in that I was like, even though it's part of the X-Men franchise, I knew going in I wasn't going to be seeing a standard X-Men movie, and it's one of those ones like it's a horror movie set in the X-Men universe. They mentioned X-Men at least a couple times in the movie, which cements it in that universe. Apparently, there was going to be a reference to Professor X and stuff as well, but yeah, like as a horror movie, I really enjoyed this. And it, yeah, with it being this low, it surprises me. Kevin, what are your thoughts on New Mutants?
My thoughts on New Mutants are this. I've seen it recently this week. I didn't see the best quality of it, but I saw the movie. But in watching the film, like I already go into it knowing like the development hell that it's been in, and I kind of pick it apart from that perspective. And maybe that's not the best way to approach it, but yeah, the horror is okay. There are some decent scares in there. There's some stuff with that that's a little confusing, I think. It seems like it's just a lot of different pieces that are kind of just thrown together over a period of time, which I guess is what it is. It's kind of a patchwork movie over the past that's been made over the last 3 years, and just knowing that it's not going anywhere, that there's not going to be a follow up to it is just kind of a letdown. So I wish it was it was supposed to be like an R-rated scary movie. I wish they would have stuck to that line that they were going down, but I know things got crazy with it, so that's why I put it so low on my list. But yeah, I mean, maybe on a rewatch, it would move up.
Well, I mean, I think the reason it was initially delayed was because they were going to add some R-rated elements to it.
Mhm.
Because this is the cut that we initially would have got way back in 2017, I think.
Yeah, 17 or 18.
2016,
Oh, was it
2016 maybe?
16?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I
Could
knew
be.
it was around. It was definitely around that time, but
Yep. It's been a
so
while.
Had they
But,
had they explained where it took place? Like I know they had the Logan flashback in the movie.
Massachusetts. Yeah, they
Yeah, but
actually
the
filmed in
time
this area.
the
They filmed
timeline
around Boston.
itself,
Oh.
because like,
Oh, where timeline wise, it's confusing because, as you said, they show footage that was in Logan. So, is it that far in the future or not? We don't know.
well,
But
I mean,
There's no X-Men logic.
well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
that,
let's
that's
be
definitely
fair-
going to come up in a minute.
Yeah.
let's be fair here. There really is no timeline continuity in the
There
Fox
isn't.
X-Men
Yeah.
There
universe.
isn't. They're all standalone movies. They're all standalone.
But
Basically.
anyway, Garth, what are your thoughts on New Mutants?
well, as a comics nerd, I read the Demon Bear saga way back in the decades ago. Chris Claremont and Bill Sienkiewicz. So I was excited that they were adapting it into a movie, and Bill Sienkiewicz was part on the set and sharing photos and being like, "I'm so excited! They're capturing my vision," and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And then I watched the movie, and I'm not a big horror guy, so that first 3/4 of the movie, I'm like going, "Oh, this is just like a horror movie. This isn't my." And the powers are different. Sunspot's got different powers.
Right.
And like they've done in other X-Men movies, they changed Sunspot in other ones too.
Sure.
But anyways, Cannonball is supposed to be invulnerable when he's bouncing around, but he's not. So little changes like that bugged me a little. The fact that Magic has Lockheed, but she got Lockheed from Kitty is like. So wait, so does Kitty exist in this universe? Did she know Kitty, or did she get Lockheed? Things like that. But overall, that ending is what won me over when they battle the Demon Bear and everyone unites and they all use their various powers in different ways to battle a common enemy. That won me over. I was like, okay, if it's stuck to that first 3/4, it'd be at the bottom. But
Yeah, and I mean, I think I think it's one of those ones. Like, I
Spoilers.
think. Well, I mean, I think. Yeah, I think that if this is supposed to be after Logan, then timeline-wise, then somewhere along the line, that's probably how Magic got Lockheed from Kitty. So I mean, it is what it is. I think had they worked in some more X-Men cameos, I think they probably would have shown that exchange.
and she's also Colossus's sister, so that's
Yeah.
a whole nother kettle.
it could have been a good episode of the.
They could have had Colossus
Oh,
in
yeah.
a flashback scene or cameo.
But
There is no timeline.
But anyway, before we accidentally spoil more stuff for Ryan, what
Yeah,
do you have for
thanks.
your number 10? What do you have for number 10?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure where you were going with that. Yeah, another indie film I've never seen before. Besides New Mutants, I haven't seen this one yet. Deadpool 2, nor do I want to.
Ooh, damn, son.
No desire.
X-Men: The Last Stand.
How
Kevin.
dare you, sir?
X-Men: The Last Stand.
Gar.
Yeah, I think that's gonna win. I stuck with the Wolverine. Actually,
Chris.
I had to have X-Men Potter, aka, hey, we got Jubilee, but we're not going to use it at all in the movie.
But X-Men: The Last Stand is going to be number 10.
I understand.
Man, I never thought X-Men Last Stand would be below Apocalypse.
But
It's
Ryan,
not the only hot takes we're in for tonight.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on X-Men: The Last Stand?
For just the tip of the iceberg, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching at home. All right, so let's talk numbers here. X-Men: The Last Stand has some good ideas. There's some good themes that are explored in this movie. Maybe not to full effect, but I get it. Because the whole cure thing, great plan on paper, maybe not have been executed as well as it could have been, but I like the idea. I really, really like that idea. Fabulous stuff. Once again, few decent action sequences. You know, aside from the Dark Phoenix thing being ripped to shreds, didn't bother me. Look, I grew up in the animated series. The animated series was great. The movie version was fine. I didn't, run home crying and whining about how they messed up the Dark Phoenix. It doesn't bother me, man. It doesn't bother me. I know the difference. But other than that, yeah, this film's all right. I did a rewatch of it. Not quite as good as I remember when I was a wee lad, but I've noticed some flaws. And yeah, I think it's all right. It's not as terrible as some other movies, but it's definitely not as good as others. So I can see where a lot of people would throw it in the garbage, burn it, in a dumpster fire somewhere down the line and not have to worry about it ever again. But it had some good, it had some decent ideas, decent action sequences, and I like the cameo by the Sentinel in the beginning of the movie. I like that.
Yeah.
We could have gotten something great out of that, but then we got to that later, so you made up for it, guys. We'll talk about that movie later. Back to you.
But yeah, like for me, like the reason I've got The Last Stand below Dark Phoenix is I think for me, The Last Stand just did the Dark Phoenix saga poorly. I could see where they were trying to go with the Dark Phoenix saga in Dark Phoenix, and and I know I've talked many times with Kelsey about the Dark Phoenix saga and all that, and I think the best way to do it, if they ever do attempt it, but as Kelsey said, she doesn't want to see them try again because of these two movies, is partly as if they start it and build it over multiple movies like what they should have done from the get-go. Yeah, but for this one, all the performances in this were solid. I just found this one just a little bit wishy-washy all over the place, and it just felt like they started making one movie and was like, oh shit, we should actually put the Dark Phoenix saga into this, and then they reworked the script to fit it in. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on The Last Stand?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of, bouncing off of what you just said about the Dark Phoenix storyline. I mean, this movie is not quite 2 hours long, and there's way too much shit packed into it. I will say it again: the rise of Skywalker syndrome lives thoroughly in this movie. They have the storyline about the cure. They're trying to shove in a storyline about Eric, and there's just too much there. Brett Ratner unable to capture any emotion. It's just like you're going from here one plot line to another. You're jumping so fast you can't even think straight. But yeah, bigger doesn't always equal better. The cheesy female character stuff that is Brett Ratner's directorial thing. Apparently, I know he had some issues off set with Ellen Page and all, but anyway, that this is just it's too much movie for what it tried to be. I think the parts were there. It just was very poor execution.
Garth, what are your thoughts on The Last Stand?
Yeah, well, like Ryan was joking about, I was one of those guys going, they ruined Dark Phoenix saga. Because, I'm a huge, huge fan of the comics. I've reread it all many, many times over the years. John Byrne's my favorite comics artist. So those were like the holy grail for me. Those and the John Burns Captain America run. And the animated series actually did a pretty good adaptation of it, or adaptation. And so when this movie came out, I was like worried, and rightfully so. They just threw too much in at once into one movie. They should have worked through it, had her slowly go evil, and then in the next movie do the full evil version of Jean. Some things I did like from this movie were Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I thought that was good casting. I was like, oh, that's unique because he's very athletic and leaping around, but he's also an intellectual. So you don't think of Kelsey Grammer as this acrobatic guy leaping around, hanging off ceilings, but they pulled it off. They still did it with Kelsey Grammer. But he captured the Hank McCoy, like, serious, like, I'm going to deal with these people and talk to these politicians and try to explain, here's what you idiots don't understand about mutants and blah, blah, blah. And try to be the diplomatic guy, rather than just fighting. And so I liked that character development, and there were other things in it that I liked. But as usual, they went, overboard with here's Magneto's flunkies in the woods. We're just going to throw all these different powers and names out there that nobody knows about or, barely in the comics or whatever. And it's just like too many people, too many characters.
Chris, what are your thoughts on The Last Stand?
I don't hate this movie. Like, I think it's a bad to a decent movie. I think two things save it from me hating it. They go to Tricky Bridge when he lifts it up when they go to Alcatraz Island. That's the good. And then the Jane and Jean Grey how Xavier and Magneto go to talk to her, try to calm down. I think that two really good things. I think some of the performances are good. Ian McKellen, still good, and Magneto. I think Patrick Stewart, not like Dave McAvoy version where it did. He brought the grandfatherness to the role, and when he tried to convince Ray Campbell. I mean, yeah, it's a bad portrait. The random villain stuff was stupid. Cyclops could kill off the first 10 minutes of the movie. So what the whole point of Dean Martin in this franchise to begin with at this point? And then some of the poor decisions. Hugh Jackman's still good at movie. So I don't hate this movie. It definitely toward the bottom, but no very bad at the one we put above this that I still have my board that we haven't voted onto the list yet.
But the last thing I'll say on this before we move on is, at least in Dark Phoenix, they tried to be faithful and try to do the Dark Phoenix saga better with how they did in the comics, with them being in space and encountering the thing. With this one, the actual Dark Phoenix turn just didn't work. But anyway, you might be able to finally get this one off your board, Chris, because for number 9, I've got X-Men Apocalypse. Kevin.
X-Men Apocalypse.
All right. I'm sticking with Wolverine. The Wolverine.
Chris.
X-Men Apocalypse. Olivia Munn.
Ed Ryan.
Yeah, that indie film that I never saw, Deadpool 2.
X-Men Apocalypse is going to be 9. Kevin, what are your thoughts on it?
Apocalypse had a good ideas and a good cast, but it's just a bad timing, I think. Oscar Isaac was so hot, and then you put him in this caked on just ton of makeup and a huge thing that I know it might be comically accurate, but it just drowned him out. Okay, there you go. Even Garth says no, so that's good enough for me. But yeah, so anyway, it totally ruined that character for me, and ruined the actor playing that character. Touching a television and saying learning, like, that's just so stupid. Jennifer Lawrence looked like she'd rather be anywhere else except doing this movie. there are some positives. I mean, I don't mind, uh, the scene where Magneto is goaded into using his powers, stuff like that. But yeah, there's just too much dragging this down to me. I feel like it's just lazy writing. Hoping the story will tell itself, but definitely not. It was just a poor execution.
Garth, what are your thoughts on X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah, another one that's much better in the comics, and yeah, as Chris mentioned briefly before, it was like the look of Apocalypse looked more like a Power Rangers villain than he does
Yeah,
in the
there you go.
comics. I have friends who cosplay as Apocalypse and do a better job.
I'm sure.
So it's disappointing when millions are spent on a movie and it's like, oh, that's the best you could do. It was interesting to see the new first class version of Storm come into this, and seeing a new, instead of the Halle Berry version. But Psylocke is introduced. That's a convoluted history with her because she's Captain Britain's sister. She's a white British woman, but then she gets put into a Japanese woman's body. It's all complicated. So they just brought her in as Asian woman. But and then seeing a new version of Angel and new version of Nightcrawler, there were some interesting aspects where it's like, okay, this is this new timeline. These are these new versions. But overall, plot wise and the look of Apocalypse, I couldn't get behind it.
Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on Apocalypse?
Where to begin with this movie? I have a love-hate relationship with this movie. I think it might be okay to bad up until the whole, Wolverine cameo and all of that, and then it just goes downhill afterward. This is a film that they do Angel Wall, they do Silent Wall, Olivia Munn. My God, don't catch it at the movie anymore. Apocalypse is awful. Festival Scene is the only good scene, and the only good plot in the movie is Magneto's stuff with his family until he becomes partly for Horseman. I think that executed really well. His family, right there, to deathly emotional. We go to confront the miners that turn on him and gave him over the authority really great thing into Apocalypse armor. But the acting is so bad. The plot makes no sense. And really used word band very badly being her back from First Class. They had really much nothing to do in this film. Like, there's so much to say to this movie, but I can get out on a whimper with this after their future past. Like, this is just, please, like, they think do Apocalypse better. Please do Apocalypse better than Ivan Ooze in an X-Men movie.
I mean, Ryan, what are your thoughts on Apocalypse?
I think Apocalypse had a great marketing campaign despite people's apprehension and reaction to the first footage or the first pictures of what this villain Apocalypse is going to look like. The whole Power Rangers Ivan Ooze thing, I didn't buy into that. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think about it. I'm like, look, I'm going to go in. I'm going to see this movie for what it is. I'm going to judge it on its own merits and walk away and see what happens. The marketing was for the campaign for this movie. I thought was really, really good. It was really, 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 really good. But the movie didn't quite live up to that marketing campaign, and that's unfortunate. That really is unfortunate. I hate when that happens with any movie from any company, any studio, whatever. Few decent action sequences, few decent character build-ups, but nothing really paid off in the end. Quicksilver may tell Magneto that he's his kid. Never happened. They teased it. They tugged at it, but nothing happened. No payoff for that, so that was a waste. Psylocke comes in for 2 minutes and does what? Not much of anything. I wanted to see more of her character because I'm not overly familiar with some of these characters, so I would have liked to have seen more of them and explore their histories a lot more. Archangel, good to see him, but he didn't have much to do. Jubilee, finally, she gets more screen time than she's had in the other trilogy. But unfortunately, not much happens with her. I wanted to see more. Because we grew up in the 90s animated series, ladies and gentlemen. Give me more. That's a fact, Jack. If you're going to give us a movie with these characters that are based off the comics or the 90s animated series, give the people what they want.
For sure.
And I'm disappointed. So other than that, McAvoy, Fassbender carrying this whole movie because Sophie Turner, she just waves her arms, turns into the Phoenix. I'm like, what? That happened quickly. Wow, this escalated
Yeah.
fast. I'm all right with it, but at the same time, I'm like,
Yeah.
shouldn't we have talked about this or
Well,
explored
they
this
just
a
play
little more
chess.
Yeah.
before
and
she
they forgot about
explodes? I
that
mean,
in
what the
Dark
heck's
Phoenix.
going on?
Yeah.
But other than the character dynamics between Eric and what was it, Charles, which I'm always a fan of those scenes. Other than that, it's all right. It's not great. It's okay at best. At the end of the day, I think it's okay at best, but it's not that good. And by the way, the end sequence with them dressing up in their iconic X-Men uniforms, about to go into the danger room and fight off some potential sentinels or whatever, I would have liked to have seen that. They just tease it. They don't give you the meal. They give you a bit of a tease and an appetizer, but they don't give you the full meal. How dare you people do that to me at the end of the movie?
Yep.
Great ending though, but at the same time I was like, ugh, I wanted more.
And then next
But anyway.
movie, they don't have the costumes.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
it was a
what
wasted
happened?
opportunity. Wasted opportunity. But anyway, those are my 2 cents on the film known as
Yeah.
X-Men Apocalypse.
So it's the scene with Sophie Turner turning into the Phoenix at the end when they're facing Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I actually got this lower than Dark Phoenix, because it's one of those ones like it doesn't make sense, and then because
None of the
they
movies
go-
make sense. That's why there's no
Well,
timeline.
that's what I was meaning, is because it doesn't make sense, because in Dark Phoenix they have her getting the Phoenix powers, which she shouldn't have had in Apocalypse.
Yeah, they just forgot that
Just
she
came out of
already
nowhere.
had a flaming bird power.
Came out of
They're
nowhere.
like, oh, remember when we battled Apocalypse? How'd we defeat him? Nope.
Just forget about that.
but
It never happened.
but
Yep.
that being said, I do love a lot of the acting in this. Like,
Yeah, the actors and actresses are good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's just one of those ones. Like, for me, the reason I got this sort of above The Last Stand is partly because I really love the Quicksilver scene. I really love it. I actually love it a little bit more than the time in a bottle scene, which we'll be able to talk about later.
Oh.
Boom! Hot take.
But
That is the hottest take so far, probably.
He's spoiling his list now.
Well, I mean,
Hey.
it's one of those ones like that movie's coming up later. It's not really spoiling
It's
the
not.
list.
Yeah, it's bound to
Much
come
later.
up, right?
Much later. Much later.
Well, but
We will see.
with that being said, like, and I mean, I'm one of the weird people that don't really hate the look of Apocalypse. Like, well, no, I know
Doesn't
it's not.
bother me.
Yeah, I know it's not comic accurate. But it's one of those ones like, from the first X-Men movie, they've not really made a comic accurate version of the characters, like suit and all. So it's not been something that's bothered me. But anyway,
The part of it that bothers me, and I won't go long on this, but I just want to say that the part that bothers me is you can't connect to him because he has like literally no emotions at all, and maybe that's supposed to be part of the character, and I'm just missing that. But yeah, I don't know.
But Garth, what are you?
Okay.
I can't be if everyone's. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Apocalypse?
Didn't I already?
I can't be.
I started the Apocalypse talk.
No, I did, but
Kevin.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's all good. But Garth, what do you have for 8?
There you go.
I was gonna say it's almost my bedtime.
Chris, what do you have for 8?
I like this movie a lot, but I do agree with Doc. Just between this and one other thing, and I had to go with Wolverine just for the last half hour in the movie with the Silver Samurai.
Ryan, what do you have for 8?
Do you have to ask?
There's an indie film apparently that
none of these movies are canon, but if there are 2 movies that I consider not to be canon whatsoever, it's Deadpool 1 and 2. So yeah, Deadpool 2 for now.
That's
Deadpool
a whole
2
different
right
show.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably going to be a hot take. I've got the first X-Men.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Get out of here!
Wow.
Get the
It's
fuck
you know
out
what
of the
though it's
studio.
really not
Get
it's
out of
really
the
not that
studio.
super
Get
early
out.
for that or late though.
It's
I don't
way
I
too
think
early for one of the best of the
no
franchise.
I
Way
don't
too
think
early.
so.
Way too early.
I'm going with the Wolverine though.
All
That
right,
I can
cool.
understand. That I can understand. I can completely understand people's reasoning behind the Wolverine. I get it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that last
Got it.
last
Okay.
act of the film. Yep.
All good.
But
All good.
Garth, what are your thoughts on the Wolverine?
I know it took a lot of elements from the Frank Miller miniseries, where Wolverine goes to Japan and all that, and a lot of characters. But they changed so much of it; it was unrecognized. It was basically just Wolverine goes to Japan, meets these characters, named this, but that was about it. But I did like some of the ideas for characters, Viper, but she had a dozen different powers. In the comics, she's quite a different character. And she works with Hydra and stuff in the comics. So it's a shame they couldn't tie that in like the other Marvel stuff, but I think they had to get away from that. But anyways, it had good moments. Train fight scene and some other scenes were cool. But overall, it was a disappointing movie for me. So
Chris,
what are your thoughts on the Wolverine?
I like this movie a good bit up to the Silver Samurai last half hour. I think real from I cannot do pronounce his name because it's a little bit hard to pronounce. Because Yukio is really good in the movie, and the back and forth between her and Wolverine is really good. The only thing I hate about the movie Silver Samurai Viper, I think they take away from me, but I think the action seems pretty good. They really go for movie director. I think they did a really good job with the, especially in terms of emotion. I think he got me go through with him killing Jean Grey with hand around and like the camera appearance for Jean Grey and the way it affected him. I thought was really good. If it wasn't for that last half hour after the whole Arrow action sequences, it's really good in director cut. The director cut version that sequence much better, but it goes downhill. But that first half hour is so good. And like the romance is actually pretty decent in that role. So yeah, it pained me to put it low, but it was just that first hour, it'd be higher. It's just that last half hour.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on the Wolverine?
This movie isn't too far from where I would have put it. I would have put it at number 10. The Wolverine had a really good marketing campaign. Lousy outcome. This movie could have been great. Could have been one of the best, but it wasn't. Didn't do it. Guy goes to Japan, has to protect a young girl who's being attacked by, ancient samurai cultish war, whatever the heck was going on. He loses his powers for a couple of hours, and he gets them back, and then at the end he has to fight a giant samurai that's... Yes, I've seen CGI. Yes, I can deal with somewhat bad CGI, but this is just like, dude, you're not even trying with this. You're not even trying.
Mhm.
I can tell this is fake, man. Cut me some slack, Jack, but, Hugh Jackman is Hugh Jackman. So he's a great actor. He's one of the best in the business today, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, disappointing film. Could have been better. Could have done something, but it just landed flat at the end of the day. And Viper? Who the heck is this woman? She looks like a Poison Ivy knockoff. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Yep. What are you doing there? What's your purpose? What's your powers? Where did you come from? Who do you actually work for? What the heck are you doing? So other than that, get this movie out of here. It's not good. It didn't live up to the marketing campaign. I'll stick with the trailer. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a big defender of the Wolverine. I think this is one of the this is a good movie. This is one of the better X-Men movies. This is one I do enjoy a lot. Like the fight, as Chris has mentioned, the big fights in the end was fun. But I actually really enjoyed all the acting and stuff from early on as well. It's one of those movies which, at first, when I first saw it, I didn't appreciate it as much. But after multiple viewings, I've actually kind of appreciated it more. And it's been one of those that has moved up my rankings a lot from when I first did this. Kevin, what are your thoughts on the Wolverine?
Yeah, my thoughts on this Japanese sci-fi crime thriller are at first, I always thought like, is it really necessary about the whole going to Japan thing? But I do think that draws out some emotion, shows the East versus West styles that are used. He's a lone man in a strange town. Yeah, like everybody said, the first two acts are amazing, and would fit right in with any top tier movie. It's just that third one is just a huge letdown. But as far as the Wolverine story itself, I think this is one of the better ones. How Mangold like strips the fantastical elements away. It exposes some regret and self-loathing in Wolverine. So, as far as advancing that story, I think that it does a good job. Apparently, the original director was supposed to be Darren Aronofsky. I think that would have been a really interesting film. And then I would like to see the extended version because apparently there's some like moderately like R-rated stuff, like fight scenes and like a whole 5-minute fight sequence that was supposed to be in there. So I'd like to see that added in as well, and put it all together. But yeah, this film is just one act away from being like 4 or 5 spots higher easily.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was this one or Logan, which was the deleted scene of him receiving his classic Wolverine suit. Is like, I'm not going to wear this.
It was supposed to be at the end of this one. He's on the plane and he opens a case and it's got the yellow spandex.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, I knew
remember
it was I knew it was the deleted scene from this one or the first one, but Chris, what do you have for number 7?
Who, me?
Chris.
Oh, Chris. I thought you said Chris.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with mine here. I much I like this sequel, Deadpool 2.
And we know Ryan's got Deadpool 2.
Yeah, I've had it for the last 5 minutes. Jeez.
I've still got
five
X-Men.
picks.
Kevin, what do you have for 7?
Way too soon to be talking
I
about
guess
that.
we're gonna get to hear Ryan rant for a little bit because I got Deadpool too.
There you go.
And Garth, what do you have for 7?
Well, Wade says it himself. Deadpool 2 time. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, thank
Ryan's
you.
gonna talk about Ryan.
Whatever his name is, Reynolds. Yeah, he's not even Ryan Reynolds. He's really Deadpool. Let's face it. He's not Ryan Reynolds at all.
But
Ryan Reynolds
Chris,
died a long time ago.
But Chris, what do you?
God's perfect idiot, according to the credits.
But Chris, what are your thoughts on Deadpool 2?
So we're hitting the stuff X-Men movie I actually do love and like a lot. I like Deadpool 2 a lot. I think it's very funny plot. I think the X-Force stuff is really funny. The death is hysterical. I think the post-credit scene is hysterical. The whole money plot with, I think, the taxi driver named Doppelganger, right?
Dopender.
And he start wanting to become like Deadpool is really funny, and the payoff at the end is very hysterical. The kid stuff could have been better. I think Scott Rowland did a great job with Cable. There's a lot of things like they got Juggernaut right at the X-Men Last Stand, and I like the little cameo for Juggernaut. And the post-credit scene is one of the most funniest post-credit scenes in any comic movie. And like him shooting Ryan Reynolds himself before he did Green Lantern was pure like unexpected moment of laughter. And so yeah, there's a lot to like. It repeated the same first one, but it's still a fun movie. And I look forward to see what they do with Deadpool in the MCU now that Disney owns it.
It's gonna be the PG version.
All people.
Disney's confirmed it's going to be rated R.
It is.
Yeah, so they say.
Rated R.
Yep.
Ryan, what are your
We'll see how
thoughts
long
on
that
Deadpool
holds.
2? What are your thoughts on Deadpool 2?
What are you
You've
talking
been
about?
wanting to
I've
talk
never
about
seen
it, bro.
Nor do I have any desire to?
Oh, he wasn't kidding about that.
No, I'm serious. I've never seen Deadpool 2 because I saw the first one and it left a horrible taste in my mouth. So, yeah. Not a Deadpool fan. Never will be.
But anyway, I really enjoy Deadpool 2. Like, this is a fun like for me. This is a fun movie. And no, before people in the comments say no, it is not because it got a New Zealand actors in this movie. Um, but like this is just one of those ones in which like while yes they do repeat some of the jokes from the first one, but with the way Deadpool is, um, that you kind of expect that to happen too because he is the fourth wall breaking hero. So like, of course, they're going to repeat a lot of them. I mean, I don't get why they had to kill off Vanessa in this. I get they wanted to give Deadpool something different,
They
but
killed his
maybe,
wife. Jeez.
but maybe, like she was busy and couldn't really be on set to film a lot.
I mean,
A
not
lot.
canon post credit scene.
Is she actually killed in this movie, or we never see her?
No,
Well,
we
we
go
see
back to one.
Yeah, it's a
Drop
whole thing.
back. So
Yeah,
What?
timey-wimey stuff.
Oh, whatever. She was busy
Um,
filming Gotham, so there you go.
but
It's true.
but yeah, this is just a fun movie. There's not a lot more I can say about it. But Kevin, what is your thoughts on Deadpool 2?
Yeah, Deadpool 2 felt like it was a little forced. And I say a little, I mean a lot in some places. The humor from the first one, a little bit overused, some of it out of place, I felt like. But this movie felt like it was one of those where you just throw every idea at the wall and kind of take a little bit of everything, and that I feel like that hurt in the long run. I mean, it does have some really cool stuff. Like the X Force ends up being one of the best comic book movie jokes I think that there is. Um, Domino's as he beats is great in this, but it's just so meta and self aware that I couldn't really get behind it as much as the first one. And then the Once Upon version of it just felt like maybe a director's cut with Fred Savage cameos or something. But yeah, this is just kind of I don't know. It felt like there was just too much forced humor in it that to make it any higher on this list.
I mean, if anything was forced, I would argue that the Once Upon a Deadpool cut of this was was the forced part of it because I mean they did it for they released in theaters for to raise money for a cancer charity. I can't remember what it's called now, but I mean it's they forced tweaked it to make it more PG-13, which really didn't work. I mean, like, I've always been one of those ones that have argued that a PG-13 Deadpool can work, depending on how you treat it, but they just reworked Deadpool 2 to make a PG-13 cut of it, which just didn't work.
Although the Princess Bride stuff was fun.
Oh, it was fun.
Oh yeah, it's a fun element, but
That part was fun, but why not just make a actual PG-13 from scratch?
right?
And without having
It's a studio. They got money.
Yeah.
But Garth, what are your thoughts about Deadpool 2?
Yeah. So, like the others said, there are good parts and bad parts. I liked some of the new characters. Zazie Beetz' Domino was really great, and you got Cable coming in, and he was pretty accurate to the comics. Just a jerk from the future. And thankfully, they didn't get into the whole his parents are Cyclops and Jean Grey. That would have made it convoluted. But and then the other things I liked were some of the cameos. You got like Brad Pitt for a second, and Matt Damon is unrecognizable in his.
Yeah, you can't see him.
Hillbilly in a fat suit.
Right.
It was real funny scene.
And Alan Tudyk as well in that same scene.
Yeah, they're the two rednecks talking about, toilet paper ain't good enough. You need to get a full clean with a bidet. And so there was some funny stuff like that. This was a better version of Juggernaut, and actually Ryan Reynolds did the voice for him. And the you got the kid Hunt for the Wilder People. As the main focus for Cable trying to kill. So there were some great elements to it, but overall, it was just like, oh, this again. Oh, this again. It was a retreading of a lot of stuff, but new characters. Yukio is Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend. Really liked her. Stuff like that. But overall, no. Yeah, deserves to be down here.
Yeah. But with that, we move on to 6. I think I know where one's going. What do you have for 6?
The movie I did see in theaters, and I thought it was going to be good, and it turned out to be, not so much. And that would be Deadpool Part 1.
I've got X-Men. Kevin.
Too soon.
I also went X-Men.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
People are
wow.
Nuts. People are nuts.
Ryan, it's me, Deadpool.
There you go. Thank you.
And Chris.
I
Man.
bet Malcolm and Kevin here. X-Men.
Whew.
Oh, what?
my
You
God.
guys,
All
come
three of you
on.
get the frack out of this studio.
Wow. X-Men at
Jeez.
that low 6? Wow.
Ugh.
We're heading into the stuff that I actually like and love. So I
That is,
I was
have
gonna
that
say,
is a top 5 for me, man. X-Men is in my top 5. Big time, baby. Big
X-Men
time.
is my number 3. Damn.
But anyway, Ryan, talk about X-Men.
All right. Jeez.
Oh, Malcolm left the studio. Okay, cool. All
I
right.
was here the whole time.
I was gonna
Okay, I
say.
thought you left to take a coffee break or something. It's fine. If you need a break, go right ahead. So what are we talking about? Oh yeah, why X-Men shouldn't be in the bottom 6. It should be in the top 5. So I'll tell you what.
You can call it the top 6.
Born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, loved the animated series. When this film was coming out in 2000, my mind was blown. My face was melted. I fell in love with this movie. I've already been a fan of the characters, but this film made me a bigger fan of the characters, the franchise, what the mythology stands for, especially someone who did a watch along for the 20th anniversary for this film because it's great and it holds up 20 plus years later. That's right. I said it. For someone on the autism spectrum, this film speaks to me in so many different ways, and it speaks to me incredibly well. Incredibly well. Great story, great actors, great chemistry between the cast, great score, great themes that are explored and go in depth in this movie. If I could give an honorary award to a cast, crew, and whatever, despite what's going on with this guy known as Bryan Singer now, I would give it to him. Because this movie, from front to back, from beginning to end, from A to Z, fan-freaking-tastic. If you've never seen an X-Men animated series, even though you should have because the 90s were great, or if you've never read an X-Men comic, this film alone is a great entry point for new and veteran X-Men fans alike. So yes, this film is great. And it should not be in the bottom 6. It should be in the top 5.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
I was gonna do it, Malcolm. Damn it!
But
None
yeah,
of the cheesy lines bother me, man. None of that stuff.
Oh,
bothers me at all.
I had it. You served it off. I was ready.
But anyway,
Doesn't bother me.
for me, this is my this is my number 9. This is one that has on multiple rewatches has actually started moving down. This is one that has aged a lot. It's one that I do still enjoy. It's never going to get past Dark Phoenix levels, and that's for sure. It's just one that it's just aged a lot, and a lot of the joke things don't work. I mean, the acting's great. It's got great action pieces in it. It's just one that has kind of moved down a little bit, and all that. Just with all the other X-Men movies that's constantly come out since then. But Kevin, what are your thoughts about X-Men?
Yeah, X-Men definitely. I feel almost bad putting it at 6, but I feel like it's from here on it's only really good movies. So this obviously the X-Men, any of the other movies we're talking about tonight, the other 12 wouldn't exist without the original success from this one. Ian McKellen made Magneto, I think for one of the first times ever, like an empathetic bad guy that I remember, as a kid watching this. And I you could actually see through the bad and actually get some feelings from it. So I think he did a great job. Patrick Stewart was so cerebral as Professor X. This movie brought Hugh Jackman into full exposure. He was the second choice to play Wolverine, and now who could imagine anybody but Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. The only negatives I really have with this, I feel like the storyline is kind of a throwaway storyline just to build the characters and build the world around them, which is fair because there's so much that needs to be done in the X-Men universe, and they barely even scratched the surface, obviously, but they did as well of a job as possible. It's just an overload of exposition on top of that kind of drags it down for me. But it's definitely a great movie, and nothing that I would like Malcolm said, it'll never be anywhere near Dark Phoenix.
But anyway, Garth, what are your thoughts on the first X-Men?
Basically, I'm the old guy here. I started reading X-Men comics in the '70s and really got into them, and especially the Chris Claremont, John Byrne issues, as evidenced by my sweatshirt. So they had little small parts in animated shows like Spider-Man, Pride of the X-Men, that kind of thing. Then the '90s animated series came along, and they did a really good job of translating some of the stories and adding new characters. And I really liked that. And then when the movie was announced, I was like, oh, I hope they don't fuck it up. And it was like Hugh Jackman, this tall guy from Australia, as Wolverine. That's never going to work. That's awful. He's supposed to be this short Canadian guy.
Yep.
And pleasantly, and they're not wearing their costumes. They're just wearing black leather outfits. What the fuck? But after I saw it, I was like, okay, it works. They even threw in the line about yellow spandex. I was like,
yellow spandex.
Okay, all right, yeah. So all these things, I was dead set against this movie coming into it, and then it was like, oh, okay, I like how they handled that. And I think it obviously does have flaws. There are some bad lines and some bad scenes in it. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and it's for me, it's actually number 3 on my list. It's way up there.
Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on X-Men?
I like this movie a lot. I do. I just like the better X-Men movie for the Jurassic came right after this. Another film that does be mentioned a little bit later, but I do like this movie a lot. The acting is good. The action sequence good. CGI visual effects doesn't hold up too well on today's viewing, but it's still a fun movie. Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, perfect. Hugh Jackman, perfect. And the background is okay. And I forget. And the background is okay. And Cyclops, they Martin just keep I'm happy he's not doing X-Men anymore because they give him barely that much to do any X-Men movie. We play a couple of funny douchebag one-liners that what I feel like watching. But every pop and totally that line is forgettably funny, and then everything out good. I would they gave more to Sabretooth. I think that one of the only positives I have for the verse of my thing. At least Sabretooth had characters compared to not speaking at all in this one. But yeah, it's a fun movie. Definitely we're hitting the good X-Men movie now. So we're not hitting the bad one. So no matter what the order are, they are really good movies for y'all now.
Uh, but now we go on to 5, and here you go, Ryan. I've got Deadpool at 5. Kevin, what do you have for 5?
Deadpool.
Garth,
Deadpool.
Chris,
Imagine paying me Deadpool.
Edward. Just the spider was going to change it.
Oh god. Rent it from
Uh,
But anyway, it doesn't matter. Deadpool's going to be 5. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, let me write that down. Took us so many spots to put it, but all right, fine.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
like,
stretch.
I mean, for me, like, I get the people that hate Deadpool. I do. I think it's gonna. I think it comes down to whether on how much you enjoyed how have grown up with the character and stuff. I think it's got something to do with that, like how well you know the character. Because I think, but I love the whole meta concept of Deadpool, and I just think it's fun, which is why I've really enjoyed the this. It got the character of Deadpool right, and that's kind of the thing of it. And Ryan Reynolds is perfect as Deadpool. It was just fun. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Deadpool?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Deadpool. I think Tim Miller did an awesome job. I think it's hilarious. I'm a sucker for a good comedy. It's ironic that this one comes right after the original X-Men because one thing I didn't say about X-Men, but it kind of they made a serious comic book movie at a time when comic book movies weren't being taken super seriously, and this is kind of the opposite of that. Like it's so funny and meta, and but it was definitely the jolt that this franchise needed at the time that it needed to, needed it. Like you said, Ryan Reynolds is Wade Wilson. He is Deadpool. So that was awesome to be able to find that actor. Yeah, this I think it sets a good precedent for future, R-rated comic book movies. I think it sets a possibility at least, and kind of sets some parameters for other stuff. Garth would know more about what I'm talking about, I guess, because I have no idea. But I'm sure there are comics and graphic novels out there that would be really funny and really really cool to see in an R-rated setting. But people are just too scared to do it. But Deadpool kind of opened that up. So yeah, it definitely deserves to be here.
Let's see an R-rated version of Powerpuff Girls.
I would see that in a heartbeat.
but
Put me
anyway,
down.
Garth, what are your thoughts on
Well,
Deadpool?
Deadpool did not open the door for R-rated comics movies. Blade did that.
True. Well, no, you're right.
Blade was a kick-ass R-rated Marvel movie long before Deadpool. Now,
Fair.
as for me, with the character of Deadpool, I hate him in the comics. Rob Liefeld is one of my most hated comics artists, where he does shitty drawings, but he got very popular. And got made lots of money, did ads on MTV and all that. But he's shit like I'm like I think I have friends who are better comics artists, and they've done comics for Marvel and DC. But the fact that he got so popular, I was befuddled by it. And so Deadpool also isn't originally the first character to break the fourth wall. Other comics characters have done that, including She-Hulk with John Byrne's run. So it's not an original idea. It's not this original character thing, as some people think. But going into this movie, so I hate Deadpool. In the comics, I just find them this annoying version. He's part of the Weapon X program with Wolverine and Maverick and some others. And I found him the annoying one, the merc with the mouth. And he's supposed to be that. He's supposed to be this guy who talks, and everyone gets annoyed by him. basically Spider-Man mixed with Wolverine mixed with a ninja, whatever. But the movie I found entertaining for the most part. There were lots of parts that got me to laugh. There was a lot of good humor in it. But as far as X-Men movies go, it's not one of my favorites. I wouldn't rewatch it a lot.
And Chris, what are your thoughts on Deadpool?
I like Deadpool a lot. They did work back and forth between their X-Men for my 5 and 6 because I like them both a lot. I have some bias here because I went to college with the daughter of the director, and that little bias there. But this is fun. Monumental is great. I love the chemistry between him and Monica Bellucci. They carry the movie a lot. And one of my favorite romance and comedy movie. And Sharon Matt, like the other way, he is easily the worst part of the movie. It's really not that great. Despite the funny running gag with Francis, that whole funny gag. But it's funny, it's sweet. It was just fun, and taking my dad, who never knew who Deadpool was until this movie. I think him laugh so hard in the movie theater, seeing him laughing around. One of my favorite ones. Go out to the movie with my dad, introducing him to this crazy character. And a fun movie. I wish Tim Miller had stayed on for the second one. I think he probably would have done a better job. But it's a fun movie. It definitely deserves number 5. And one of the best post-credit scene that made me laugh so hard that I found it the other day off.
Yeah. And just to go off a point that Garth said about Deadpool not being original, is there any comic book character that is ever truly original? I think if you go back, look at them enough, you'll find elements of other characters in them. Like whether it's comic book characters or movie characters, but anyway, we're not here to talk about originality of characters. For number 4, Kevin, what do you have for number 4?
I have X2, X-Men United.
Garth, what do you have for number 4?
I went with X-Men Days of Future Past.
Chris, what do you have for 4?
I struggle only between 2. I drove X-Men to Day United. It's tough because between that one other one right now.
Ryan, what do you have for 4?
Thanks for going to me for my 2 cents on Deadpool, the first one. But anyway,
sorry.
I have first class, so there you go.
What do you? I've got X-Men 2, X-Men United, but Ryan, what are your thoughts on Deadpool?
No, it's too late now. You already moved on, so I guess the window's closed.
Well, we haven't started talking about X.
I know, jeez.
Go talk about Deadpool.
All right, well, here's the thing. I don't know much about this character, so I was curious to see what this movie was going to be like, right? So I go in to see the movie, and I'm like, what the frack is this? This is terrible. This is garbage. A guy who's just making fun of all this weird, crazy sexual innuendo stuff, breaking the fourth wall every 2 minutes. What the frack is this? I don't want to see this character. I don't want to see a movie like this. Get out of here. So yeah, not a fan of this movie, not a fan of this character, nor will I ever be. And by the way, Garth, great 2 cents on why you're not a fan of the creator of this character, why you're not a fan of the creator in general, and why you're not a big fan of the movie either. So Garth, I just gained a whole lot of respect for you, man. Gosh, anyone who's willing to railroad, a character that I'm personally not a fan of, I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, and trash the artist / the guy who created this character, man, you got some cojones, and I respect the heck out of that. I like that, man. I like it. I like it a lot. Man, other than that, being on the Deadpool haters bandwagon, I'm feeling pretty good, especially when I respect Garth's pitch about why he doesn't like the character. And by the way, Garth, you voting for Days of Future Past, you lost some points there. That is way higher than I have it right now. Days of Future Past is my numero uno, my man. So you and I got some issues. But other than that, you're good.
All right.
Hashtag spoilers for Ryan's list.
I was going to say spoiler.
You already spoiled half of your list. I'm going to spoil mine.
Hey, I said I had it higher, but anyway, we are going on to 4. I've got X2, X-Men United. Kevin, what are your thoughts on X2?
X2 was an awesome film when it came out, and it only has gotten better in my mind. I love the good and bad, working together, for a common cause. I think this one tops the original, like a lot of, a lot of a lot
Sequels.
of sequels. Thank you. I was going to say trilogies, and I couldn't
It's a
find the
big
word.
word there. Yeah, it's okay.
Sequels, yeah, screw you.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
a lot of sequels do top the originals. It just deepens the themes and the tones and the emotion of the movie. Henry Jackman does an awesome job with the music themes. Adds like Magneto has his own theme, and Professor X has his own theme, and so when certain characters are on screen, you're starting to put kind of like with Star Wars, like you're starting to connect them phonetically with and I mean auditorially. But anyway, even from the first, where Nightcrawler just pounds through the White House, Brian Cox does an awesome job as Stryker. I love how it amps up the romantic triangle between Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. And it kills in the big set pieces and action sequences. X2 is the best out of the original three by far.
But Gav, what are your thoughts on X2?
Yeah, I really love this movie. This is way higher on my list than other. Well, not way higher because we're at the end, but this was my favorite movie for X-Men movie for the longest time. I loved the reveals of Wolverine's origin and William Stryker. It was right out of Weapon X. It was really well handled, I thought. And the team coming together to explore these things and team up, and new people like Nightcrawler coming in. I thought it was really well done, and some great storylines, some great acting. The ending with Jean sacrificing herself, and then you see the little phoenix on the water. It was like, oh, now they're going to get into the Dark Phoenix saga, and unfortunately, they dropped the ball. But it was a nice little ending where it was like, oh, Jean, maybe she's not dead. So yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Chris, what are your thoughts on X2?
Pretty much everybody said what I wanted to say. I love X2. I be thinking now putting it at number 4, but I love this movie. The attack on the Ant-Mansion sequences and Wolverine going away to all the soldiers, phenomenal. Lady Deathstroke versus Wolverine, great fight. Brian Cox, probably my favorite X-Men villain out any villain in the X-Men franchise so far. Perfectly cast. Everything, the emotion brought, Magneto escaping prison, phenomenal sequences. This used to be my favorite X-Men movie for a while until a bunch of others came out, but I love this film still, and it's coming perfect Nightcrawler. They should have brought him back for Last Stand. Like, everything perfect. I wish it were the one that came out that were great, but I love the ending so much. It just sucked what we got with Last Stand after this. Definitely one of the best X-Men movie and one of the best comic book movie ever made. Like,
Ryan, what are your thoughts on X2?
Yeah, this is one of the few times we're all actually going to agree on where this film stands. 5 would have been First Class for me. 4 would have been X2, X-Men United. So there's a little spoiler for you people watching at home. Yeah, this movie has grown on me a lot more. I rewatched it not too long ago, and I respect it more. I liked it more. I understood why people like this movie a lot, so I get it. Yeah, it's one of the best ever made. It's got, once again, you add some new actors, you add some other cast members in there, you add some new characters to the mix, especially with Nightcrawler, played by Alan Cumming, who gave an award-worthy performance in 1995's GoldenEye as Boris Korishenko. Yeah, that's how, hey man, hey, with all due respect, that's how I was introduced to this actor. Okay, so big Bond fan here, Boris.
William Tacker.
Exactly, yeah. So with him being a Nightcrawler and him giving that speech in the back of the Blackbird with between him and Storm, great speech, great lines, great themes are once again explored in this movie about why mutants are mistreated, why it's about classism and all this other stuff going on. So really good movie, and the common thread, having the X-Men team up with their worst, and I mean their worst enemies to take on an even bigger bad with, Colonel Stryker. So good stuff, great cast, good themes, good good score too, and I respect and like this film a lot more so now than I did before. So my hat's off to the cast and crew. Y'all did a great job on X2 X-Men United. And by the way, the speech at the very end of the movie that Jean gives, the exact same speech is given in the beginning of the first movie by Charles Xavier himself, aka Patrick freaking Stewart. There you go, full circle.
Yeah, I mean, like X2 X-Men United was good. This is like another one that would have been my number one for a long time, but then just gradually started moving down as well. But like out of these three, this is definitely the best out of the three that we got in the original trilogy. And like to me, Alan Cumming as Oracle was great. Like a lot of the acting was good. Like there was times when this just felt like a slow burn, and but if that we go on to number 3, Garth, what do you have for number 3?
I actually changed based on what Ryan said because I kind of don't want to throw my vote to the wind. So I changed it to X-Men First Class.
Chris, what do you have for number 3?
We call you Manita. We call you Professor X-Men First Class.
Ryan, what do you have for number 3?
Oh, you young buck with so many quotes. It's First Class for me at number 3. Yeah, since it's not number 5.
I've got First Class at 3.
Yeah, I'm with you. 100%.
Swept the board.
Yep. There you go.
We actually all completely agree.
There you go. First time in the history
Wow.
of this episode, we are agreeing on something. Isn't it wonderful?
Hey, it has that. It has to happen at some point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
There you go,
exactly.
I'm more than happy to make great speeches to change people's minds for you there, guys.
You work.
I'm a heck of a salesman, man. Great salesman.
Yep.
No
But Garth, what do you?
You can
what
sell
do
me
you
that undercoat.
Garth, what are your thoughts on X-Men First Class?
It was a fun idea, basically showing the earlier days and having these new actors come in and take over the roles. And, I was skeptical. I was like, replacing Patrick Stewart as Xavier. But it was similar when the first X-Men movie came out. It was like a lot of hesitation, a lot of reservation, and then pleasantly surprised. I also like the addition of some of the other characters from the comics and all that. It was a bit weird tying in Mystique with Xavier. In the comics, it's not that way at all. But she's also in the comics. She's Nightcrawler's mother, but it's never addressed in these movies really.
No continuity.
So it was a fun movie, and them exploring their powers and all that goofy stuff with, hey, let's pick our names, and the destroying of the statue and the party, and then the grumpy adults come over, and they're actually not that much older than some of the kids. It was more like a college dorm where they're the dorm monitors.
Frat.
And they're like, hey, shut it down. But it was a good concept, fun idea. Basically almost a reboot, but not quite. So it was cool.
But Chris, what are your thoughts on X-Men First Class?
This is also one of my favorite X-Men movies that used to be high on my list. I love this movie. That scene what John mentioned, that brought it down a lot because that scene is stupid with the Manita Professor X first name thing. It's just but it's so good, and it Manita, Michael Fassbender and Dave McRae kill it Manita and Professor Xavier. The Argentina boss scene, one of the best comic book scenes in the past couple of years. You were a pig farmer and you butcher up like that whole conversation, and never once spoken English, and it's brilliant. The scene with the satellite and seeing the birthday flashback scene is emotional, like, and great Kevin Bacon death, getting the coin going right through her head to the bat. It's got one of the best moment of satisfaction in the movie theater. There's so many good things about this movie. It held up so well. And I love Hugh Jackman. Fuck off. Like, it's so good. Like, and I went in so expecting to hate it because I hated Origin like 2 years ago, and I love every moment of this movie. And I own it on DVD in my DVD collection.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on X-Men First Class?
You know, I once again grew up with the series, so I already pretty much knew these origin stories of these certain characters. But then again, this was a different movie with a different director because I wasn't very familiar with what was it, Matthew Vaughn. And he comes in and he does this origin story, and I thought it was great. I thought it was great to explore these characters even more so, find even more layers to them, how they become the men that they are meant to become, and the characters and the heroes or the villains or anti-heroes that they eventually turn out to be, and the founding of the X-Men School for the Xavier School for the Gifted and all that stuff. And you got Moira McTaggart. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Long time. Like, not since freaking 1992 have I heard that name. Moira McTaggart, please. Tell her it's an old friend. Like, I mean, I haven't heard that name in like so long, but then she shows up, and it's played by the beautiful, and I mean gorgeous, Rose Byrne. How you doing, Rose? I mean, just, yeah, man. I mean, good cast, good layers, good feelings, good score, good tunes, good brew, good buddies. Really good action sequence at the end there between the war between the mutants and potential humans with the whole, what was it, the Cuban Missile Crisis was going on at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And they had that as a backdrop or a little bit of a MacGuffin there. I liked it. And then you got the Hellfire Club is thrown in there. Who would have thought that a guy who hunted graboids in 1990 could turn out to be one of the best villains I've seen in a comic book movie in Sebastian Shaw? Yeah. 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Get at it. But it worked, and it worked really well. I didn't think Kevin could pull it off. Because I'm used to seeing his wife as the closer on TNT every Monday night. But, he comes in, plays his villain, wearing the 3-piece suit like a killer walked in, like James Bond, and I dig it. So, yeah, X-Men First Class, really good stuff. I got, once again, my hat's off to cast and crew, and especially Matthew Vaughn, because this was a different kind of film, a different kind of tone that we are normally used to seeing. So, my hat's off to them. Good stuff, boys. And by the way, the cameo with Logan, not too bad either. And the cameo, that's real quick. Blink and you'll miss it. But there is a cameo of Rebecca Romaine. So, that doesn't hurt anybody. There you go.
No, not that form. That one, perfect.
Perfection. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice, yeah.
We all get it, Garth. But yeah, that was good.
But yeah, when I heard they were going to be rebooting X-Men, my first thought was, why? Why not just make a 4th X-Men movie? When I heard they were going to have Havoc in this and not Cyclops, I was like, why? Cyclops is supposed to be the older brother, not Havoc.
It's X-Men logic.
But
Right.
But then I read to see this like I do with most movies that I don't know why it's happening, but I'm going to see it anyway. I went in. I actually really enjoyed this. Like, this is as much as I like the first trilogy, the reason I like this one a lot more than all 3 of those ones is we got to see this is more of a true sort of team up style movie as the first one was. A lot of people do knock the first one, going, "Oh yeah, the first trilogy is just all about Wolverine," and then we got a Wolverine trilogy again. But this one they didn't, and I like the fact that they didn't have Wolverine in this or try to do a new version of Wolverine. I like that the fact they actually tried do a true team-up movie, and it actually worked, because this was a team-up movie before the Avengers even hit the screen, because this came out in 2011 and Avengers was 2012. I mean, I'm one of the weird ones. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Wolverine cameo. I mean, it was fun, but it felt like they forced it in
Forced.
just so they get Wolverine into the movie. But anyway, Kevin, what are your thoughts on X-Men First Class?
Yeah, I mean I don't disagree about that cameo feeling a bit forced, but I still like it anyway. Just what it is. But I really for this movie I like the spy aesthetic. It's a period thriller, something new. Um, as far as this set of films goes, I apologize. I said Henry Jackman on the last film. I had it written down under First Class. That's it. Actually goes with this film. But anyway, you can kind of forget the timeline suggestion that they make, and it's not really a legit timeline. It's just a suggestion. But you can forget all that because of how good this movie is at the plot. I think that Matthew Vaughn coming off of he has some weird movies like Kick Ass he's coming off of, and it's really toned it down for this. Stellar cast: Jennifer Lawrence before she really hit megastardom, Kevin Bacon. I think Sebastian Shaw is one of the best underrated or most underrated X-Men villains, or even comic book movie villains. I think January Jones does a great job as Emma Frost. And I think it's just interesting to be able to watch the factions kind of start to divide from the beginning. So yeah, I've always liked First Class, but it is kind of in the lower tier of my tops. I had it at number 4, but so 3 is fair.
Yeah. But anyway, but now instead of putting our number 2, we're going to put number 1. We're still going to talk about a number 2, but
Man,
but yeah. Chris, what is your number 1?
it's Shane. No, I mean Logan.
Ryan, what is your number 1?
The comments section and everyone watching at home, prepare to be shocked. Days of Future Past is my number 1.
My number 1 is Logan. Kevin, what is your number 1?
Days of Future Past.
God,
Owning
what's
this,
your number
great.
1?
And here I am, the tiebreaker. And Ryan is a good salesman, but not good enough to get me to change my vote on Logan being number 1.
I kind of figured that was going to happen. Sorry.
We tried, Kevin. We tried.
We did. We put up a fight valiantly.
But anyway, Chris, what is your thoughts on X-Men: Days of Future Past?
So, don't take me pretty at number 2 at saying it's not a great movie. I love X-Men Days of Future Past. I love it to death. Penny Jane players. The scene between McAvoy and Patrick Stewart and the speech Patrick Stewart gives to him, a beautiful scene. Dane McAvoy, I think a lot of people say Logan had some of the best Oscar consideration performance. Dane McAvoy gave a phenomenal performance in Day of Future Past. He's playing the broken down Xavier that doesn't want his power anymore, and I would consider it over a worthy nomination, because of what he brought to the role. And same thing with Master Fassbender, great introduction to Christopher. Seeing the time in the bottle scene is hysterical. Remember sitting in the movie theater, and we all burst into a broad laugh at the end of that scene. And it was just everything great, and it tied everything up beautifully at the end. The ending is so beautiful, and if they ended there, besides Logan, great way to end the series, because they retconned a lot of stuff, but at the same time, they brought closure to everything. They read the nice little bow at the end. Great camera by Kelsey Grammer and everybody. Everything is good. It was satisfaction, and both timelines worked so well, and it's funny at time. So yeah, perfect. One of the best in the Jenny Aston series, besides Logan.
Yeah. Ryan, what is your thoughts on Days of Future Past?
Well, there's a couple things about this. One, I like it when a marketing campaign promotes a movie and the marketing campaign's great, and then the end product, the actual movie, lives up to that marketing, if not better. This movie did it, and it did it in spades. First Class was a really, really good reboot, and then they jump into this and they said, you know what? We're going to bring everybody back from the originals. We're going to bring in the new kids. We're going to bring in some more characters. We're going to add more layers to the story. We're going to do time traveling. We're going to fix some of the mistakes we've made in previous movies and tie everything up in a nice big bow. Did this movie do it? Heck yes. Did it ever? Did it ever? We get Sentinels, finally. We get battling between Sentinels and mutants, finally. We get other characters getting their due justice with their storylines. It happens. My gosh, I mean, this movie hits me in the feels so much, and it's so good. And then they respect the past, and they also embrace the future. When a movie does that, they've done their job right. Everyone who had to be brought back was brought back. Everyone who came in from the new cast was here. They did their jobs. They did them well. There were layers to these characters. The time traveling, giving you a second chance at life. You know, that kind of theme was being played about. And I loved it to pieces. And just, oh my gosh, everything about this movie was great. It's fantastic. And Quicksilver, I wasn't a fan of that kid who can't act his way of a paper bag, Aaron Taylor Johnson, in that pathetic excuse for a movie known as Age of Ultron. So to see a different Quicksilver, yeah, that's right, I said it. So to see this version of Quicksilver played by Evan Peters, if I'm not mistaken, who was also in a terrible movie known as Kick-Ass, for him to be in this movie and be as awesome and almost steal the show as he did, Evan Peters, my hat's off to you. So this movie is one of the GOATs in the genre. I think it's one of the GOATs in movie making, period, in my humble professional opinion. So X-Men Days of Future Past may be my number one on this particular list, but at the end of the day, I understand why some people would have it at number two. I get it. But Days of Future Past wins the gold medal hand over fist. Great themes, great cast, great direction, great producing, great writing. Everything in between is fan-freaking-tastic. I can't say anything more. I'm speechless. I'm without speech. Back to you.
I mean, you said something interesting. You said everyone was brought back, but there was one character that got so short-shafted in this that they had to do this.
Hey, both cuts of the movie are fantastic in their own ways. Partner. They're both great cuts. There's no question.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but I wish that the road cut was the one that was just the one cut of the movie, because it's not like it was a extra. It was only like 10 minutes longer than the original movie,
Yeah,
so I don't.
Okay with that.
So, and her stuff worked well in that movie, so I do not get why they cut her stuff out of the movie at all. I just don't get that. But when I heard that they're doing the Days of Future Past storyline, one, I thought it's a really interesting idea, just with what they've done with the with this new set of movies, full stop, because it's one of those ones that could have gone completely wrong in many different ways, because as I already pointed out when talking about First Class, like they've got Havoc older than Cyclops, which didn't prove not to be a matter in this anyway, because like Havoc only sort of appears briefly in the movie anyway, but but it's one of those ones that because of how old Kitty was established in the original movies with Ellen Page, they had to work out a way that, because in the comics it was Kitty that went back in time, not Wolverine. So they made the decision, because they'd already set up Wolverine in First Class as being around in that time. They changed it up so that Wolverine was the one that goes back in time, which worked for this. And it's part of the reason I kind of wish they didn't put the Wolverine cameo in there, because I would have liked that to be surprised. It's like, oh shit, Wolverine was actually back in that time era. Even though, I mean, we all knew that's where it was anyway. But that being aside, I would have liked to be surprised that he was the one that go back in time. But it's a fun movie. It's good. Like, it's one that does actually flip flop with Logan for me quite a bit. But at the time when I've had this on my list set up since I did the X-Men rewatch a while ago, this is just where it's sitting at the moment. But maybe if I watch them again next year, they're going to flip flop again. So it is what it is. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Days of Future Past?
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite. I know that's like you, though. I can go between this and Logan for different reasons. Obviously, this is my favorite in terms of X-Men overall films. I love how when Singer kind of returns to finish it off, or returns to the franchise to bring everybody back, make the passing of the torch. This works awesome as a standalone movie. The balance in the movie is great. There's some stuff in it that could easily have gone very awry, especially with like Kitty's powers are kind of in question at points, but there's just so much good that you just kind of don't worry about that. Don't worry about the timeline stuff. You just kind of let that stuff go by you. And that tells me that there's enough meat and in the story, and it moves swiftly enough, and it's fun. Like you said, it's fun to watch. I love Boulevard Trask for everything that he is. I think Dinklage did a great job. The time in a bottle scene is going to be, I think, timeless as far as comic book movies go. But yeah, this is just one that I will always go back to and think that that it's it just it hits me, like Ryan said, it hits me in the feels.
And Garth, I can't remember if I've gone you through yet, but what are your thoughts on Days of Future Past?
Yeah. So once again, Chris Claremont, John Byrne did the comic story, and brilliant. One of the best X-Men stories ever, along with Dark Phoenix Saga that they did. And once again, this was one of those movies where hearing the news beforehand and seeing set photos and promo photos, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't, seeing Quicksilver with his silver jacket and goggles, I was like, oh, that's going to be awful. And of course, he became one of my favorites with the time in the bottle scene. And hinting, Magneto's his father, but it doesn't quite say it, isn't quite revealed. And they mention his sister, but Scarlet Witch doesn't enter into it. Isn't even seen on screen. They just mention her. So things like that were nice little nods. The changing of Kitty Pryde to Wolverine, I could understand because he's more popular, and you're going to get more people with Hugh Jackman being the focus of the story and going back in time and explaining that his healing factor is what helps, with the mind displacement into his past body. So it was an interesting take. And, Bolivar Trask is the new villain, and Mystique's, seeing the various sides of things, the Mystique side of things, the Magneto side of things, Xavier's side of things, Wolverine side, and so it was all these different people seeing the same situation differently. And it was very well done. It's, Blink, I didn't expect to see her. Love her in Exiles comics and Age of Apocalypse, so it was cool seeing her in the movie. Overall, really well done movie.
But anyway, now we go to the number one, which is Logan. Ryan, what are your thoughts about Logan?
Yeah, not counting, outside of the movies that have X-Men in the title. Just to be clear here, okay? Don't come at me, bros. Outside of the X-Men movies that are spin-off films known as Deadpool 1 and 2, even though those movies never happened. But X-Men Origins Wolverine and the other two, those three happened. Okay? So Logan comes out, and like I said, when a marketing campaign does well and then the final product lives up to that hype, if not then some, once again, this is another example of a film that does so, with it being Logan. all three main actors in this movie, whether it's Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, or especially the newcomer who just came out of nowhere, and I mean nowhere. Little itty-bitty little 10, 12-year-old girl with razor-sharp claws as X-23 tearing people limb from proverbial limb, including Randy Orton. Okay? Randy Orton was in this movie, so forget getting an RKO. He got destroyed by a 10-year-old girl with razor-sharp adamantium claws, known as X-23, I might add. So, yeah, I love when that happens. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, this is great. This is some of the best acting you're ever going to see in a comic book-based film or just a movie in general. This is some of the best acting, period. Specifically, for me anyway, more so Hugh Jackman and Daphne Keane. The relationship between those two as a potential father-daughter thing going on, I loved that. It was pure. It was original. It was just everything from beginning to end between those two, the dynamic, whether they like him or not, it works. Him trying to mentor her saying, hey, the world's still cruel. You got to help us with this mission, pal. You know, you may say you're retired, but you can't be. Not at this point. Great score, great trailer, great marketing, fantastic acting, great storyline. Very sad, emotional, grips you, and I mean grips you at the end, though. It will beat you at the end. But maybe there's a little bit of ray of sunshine at the end. I'm not sure how you want to interpret that ending or not with the kids going off. Maybe it's a happy ending for them. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Give me a sequel with X-23 and her friends, people. Give me more Daphne Keane spin-off movies now. Because I will say this on record. Daphne Keane is the future of this business. She is the future of acting. She knows what she's doing. She's the next big thing. You know, she's the cream that's going to rise to the top. She's going to have a few Oscars on her mantle. She should have got one for Logan. Yeah. Bless you. So, yeah, Logan's fantastic. Not quite my number one, but outside of the X-Men movies, Logan's right there. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Daphne Keane is one of those ones that I didn't know could actually speak English until I saw her in his Dark Materials TV series. But yeah, I love Logan. Like a Western superhero movie is not something that I didn't know I wanted, but I'm glad that we've got. And it's just one of those ones like Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman should have been nominated for the Oscars for their respective roles. Well, I mean, Daphne Keane, she's got more. I think, I think because she's relatively new, it's one of those ones that I don't know who will. I mean, she was good. I just don't know if she was deserved for that role. I mean, she probably will get one down. She probably will get one down the road.
I would have nominated her hand over fist.
Yeah. I mean, come on, Paquin for piano. Why not Daphne Keane for this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Not that I'm saying that people should be too young to be nominated for Oscars. I just
age is just a number, Malcolm.
Anyway,
I was gonna say I'm not even getting on that conversation.
But this whole Oscar conversation can be something for another day. Maybe I'll do a late night. I mean, we are on take 3 already, but anyway.
No. I mean, it'll be a subject matter on late night with take 3. Sorry.
But anyway,
not a ranking
back to Logan. Like this movie is one that really worked. Like Stephen Merchant as Caliban and all that. It was just entertaining. And you also had Richard E. Grant in there. It's just one of those ones which, and I felt this was a good sort of cap on the Wolverine saga, so to speak, because and it's for this reason. I'm hoping that the MCU do not try to do another Wolverine so soon. And recast Wolverine very quickly. I kind of would like to see more X-Men movies without Wolverine in them, just to see what they would look like. And I mean, Wolverine playing the Hugh Jackman playing the younger version of Wolverine, the X-24, I think.
Yeah.
That it showed that he still could do really powerful action scenes, and he wasn't too old to do that. And that was something. Then that was something that I didn't expect. Is seeing the younger version of Wolverine again. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on Logan?
Logan is an unbelievable film. I think it's the perfect. I love the R rating. I love the send off of the character Logan, the ambition, the vision that this film has to it. It has so much emotion, and in that I mean like violence, uh, sadness. There's Logan, even himself. Well, all the characters really are at different places in their life. So Logan going through like the regret and the redemption story, even his savagery, stuff like that. Like you said, it being a western, just that one more time having Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart working together. I feel like that's probably going to be the end of that. I hope they don't flesh it out too much. But anyway, the only reason I didn't put it at number one, it does feel a bit self-important at times, a little gloomy at times. It feels like it's trying to stick the landing a little too hard, but I mean those are like super minor comparatively. Because I really like this film. So
Garth, what are your thoughts on Logan?
Really, 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 really loved it. I'm a fan of old-fashioned westerns, and the fact that they made this a modern western with mutants, even having scenes from Shane and quotes from Shane in the movie, and Shane is this gunslinger with a kid, and the kid gets attached and whatnot, and it just touched the feels, and all the stuff with Xavier not only getting old and losing his mind, which is his most powerful asset, but the fact that he was responsible for an incident that killed X-Men mutants and possibly innocent civilians as well is like, having that guilt weigh on his mind, and the fact that he can cause more, as we saw in the hotel scene. That he could have, if he wasn't stopped, he could have killed everyone there as well. So he was, in a way, becoming a new Dark Phoenix type thing, where it was this powerful, problem that could cause great damage. So it was great seeing them deal with that, and Logan himself deteriorating with the poisoning in his body and all that. It was just wonderful, wonderfully done. It also had great things on, a little thumping of the, where it was like preaching about, automated trucks taking over, and
oh yeah,
the genetics and the crops and all that kind. So it was kind of all this like, what future are we heading for, and is it the right thing?
it's dystopic.
So it was very interesting. And with the family, as soon as they go, hey, let's go have a nice dinner with this family, I'm like, oh, they're dead. They're so.
Someone has to be Debbie Downer.
Yeah. Well, it was just sad because it was like, hey, let's go have a nice dinner with these people. I was like, oh no, that's not going to end well. I'll just finish up quickly. At the end with when Xavier finally dies, that's real tearjerker, and then Wolverine dies and she buries him and tilts the cross to an X.
Oh yeah.
Those scenes,
I was gonna say that's some Star Trek 2 type stuff right there.
Yeah, and as Ryan pointed out, I would have loved for those kids to get their own sort of New Mutants movie. Like, oh, this is these
That would be
kids
cool.
in the future, and
Oh yeah.
X-23 leading them. All right,
Um,
I'll stop now.
But with that being said, Chris, what are your thoughts on Logan?
I will take that way with the Patrick Stewart revolver Oscar nomination. To see me go, this was the best day of my life, and I do not deserve it. It's one of the most heartbreaking moments in the movie. His acting that scene and the dinner conversation thing where he talked about him teaching Logan to the family and that whole conversation. Patrick Stewart giving one of the best performances in any X-Men movie. Just like I said earlier with Dave McAvoy, you get a lot of great performances that get overlooked for maybe worth considering. Hugh Jackman being Malcolm, you stole my line about his doc material when Dave made that line about that thing. But yeah, she's so good, especially she's so good now today in his doc material. But everybody's great. Dave Mango gave up one of the best comic book movies the past couple of years. And I think at 24 it's a little bit weird, but I like it more and more every time we watch the movie. Same with Richard E. Grant. He cracked me up with his line where he admit what he did with Lana. I think that one little funny chuckle moment in the movie. And when it has humor and levity, it worked well. The same references. I get emotional. There's one of the few X-Men movies I get emotional at. This Day Future Past and First Light are the only time I would tear up in anything.
Right.
And they all involve like history of stuff that happened that get me emotionally. With Day Future Past, the Charlie Davies scene of First Class with the flashback with the happy birthday to this with Patrick Stewart breaking down saying, I don't deserve this and everything. Like, it's so good, and I wish the end of X-Men with just this, and now went off the rail with New Mutant, Dark Phoenix, and Apocalypse. But great way to end the X-Men series for me. Just the ending to me. That's what we got. And Shane, I will leave it at this, Shane.
But with that, we've reached the end of this episode. At 13, we've got X-Men Origins Wolverine. At 12, we've got Dark Phoenix. At 11 is New Mutants. At 10, we've got X-Men The Last Stand. At 9, we've got X-Men Apocalypse. At 8, we've got Wolverine. At 7, we've got Deadpool 2. At 6, we've got X-Men. At 5, we've got Deadpool. At 4, we've got X2, the X-Men United. At 3, we've got X-Men First Class. At 2, we've got X-Men Days of Future Past. And number 1 is Logan. But with that being said, I'll have a poll up in a bit with what you want next week's topic to be. And but I'll also announce a few other things as well. So this week there's a poll. Next week there's a poll. But then on December 19th we've got top 12 movie centers. And then after that,
Wow.
then after the episode, we will be taking a couple weeks off over the holidays. I'm potentially looking at maybe coming back in first week of January 2021, and with the first topic, which will be top 12 movies of 2020.
That's
Did we
gonna
even
be
get
tough.
12
Wow,
movies in
that would be
2020? I
fun.
don't think so.
I mean, there's been a
Oh
there's
yeah,
been-
there have been a lot.
I have a bunch
I
of
mean,
that
it's-
sort of
I
As
mean,
far as
All
I mean,
right,
there's
if you
been a
say
lot.
so.
Well, I mean, whether it's Netflix originals and stuff as well, they all count as
Right.
movies.
Yeah,
They're all
sure.
All
movies.
right.
Um,
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, if you count all the streaming, then you got more.
And we got a bunch of movies
Yeah.
coming out in December that they help add to the list.
but
Mhm.
I may have
yeah,
only seen one 2020 movie, but I have to rethink that and go back to my list, Malcolm. But we'll see.
but anyway, but for that, Kevin, where can people find you online?
You can find me on TMG Trivia. That's where I hang out most of the time. I am the commissioner there. You can reach out to us, join our group, and check out the YouTube page. And if you'd like to compete in singles, teams, geek, or franchise wars, or even sports, then we would love to have you. I said TM Geek because we're in the middle of our TM Geek tournament of champions for the very first championship, and we are getting into the recording of the quarterfinals. So I'm very excited about that. So check it out on YouTube under TMG Trivia. Thank you very much.
Garth, where can people find you online?
Just Garth McMurray on Facebook, Twitter, Garth_McMurray on Instagram, where you can see a bunch of my comics art. And that's about it. I'm on shows like this and do trivia now and then, but that's about it.
Chris, where can people find you online?
You find me on Facebook. You can find me here in a bunch of group. And OJ and Jack Old Trivia being a paper champion. Somebody called me last night, did.
Ryan, where can people find you online?
Yes, thank you for having me on, Malcolm. Do appreciate it. You can find me and everything that we're doing at Nerd Culture, as you can see behind me in my lovely backdrop. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at It's Nerd Culture. Check out new episodes of my podcast. It's called The Nerdcast, where I talk about movies past and what lack there may be of the present because of COVID. Feel free to check it out on Anchor, Google, Spotify, wherever you download your podcasts. You can find us there, and we got new videos dropping each and every week on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. And a fun fact I learned tonight is that Garth is the oldest and wisest person in the history of the families because he knows way too much about comic books, comic book characters, mythology, how the world of comics works. Geez, there's so much knowledge. I can't take it anymore, Garth. But anyway, I'll see him at the Murphmobile, and then we'll go to Makita's and grab some donuts. Other than that, thanks for having me, Malcolm.
But you can find me. You can find me on Take 3 Productions hosting Late Night Take 3. I don't know if I'm doing one this week or not. I'll decide that later. But you can also find me hosting Rankin next week. The topic will be whatever you vote on in the poll. You can also find me over on Full Metal, where I host Full Metal Classic on Sundays. You'll see Kevin in that this week. And this week at 6 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, I also host Full Metal Random. And you'll see Colton Roberts taking on Matty G, taking on Tim Bracala in a Big Bang Theory match.
Ooh, that's
Here we go into the future. It's going to be great.
Buzzing.
But yeah,
Yes.
but from all of us here, until next time, just remember, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.